start? Excellent.
Please go ahead. It's all over to you. I made you the co-host, and inshallah, I will end the meeting today.
Thank you. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Welcome, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Today, we are first going to share my screen. So we're going to discuss today on the workshop today is called A Cup of Conversation, which basically the goal of today's workshop is to show you expressions that you can use to sound more fluent, to feel more fluent, whether that be memorizing some phrases or changing the way you pronounce certain things, and even choosing one way over another way in speaking. So actually, I'm going to begin with the last point I just said. First, I will share my screen. I'm sure that will work.
You are not audible, ma'am. There is some issue with the mic, I think.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but it's still breaking. Your voice is breaking.
My voice is breaking. That's I wonder why that is, because I'm right next to the Wi-Fi.
Not at my end.
Okay, there is a issue with my end.
It seems to be.
Sometimes, I know this is a very old-fashioned way of fixing things, but sometimes if you leave and come back, it seems to work. I know it's it's an old-fashioned technique to fix it, but it seems to work for me. But can you see my screen, my Word document?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I want to begin with the first point that the third point that I mentioned. I want to begin with that first. Is when we can, we should contract. So one of the most important ones is if you can, then contract. That, and of course, this is a cup of conversation. So this is in spoken English. In written, you can or you don't have to. It really depends on what you're writing and who you're writing to. And that's a total different ball game. But if you can, then you should contract. So instead of saying, I am sure, what would you say? What would be a more fluent way of saying, I am sure? I need your participation, guys. I know the answer. I want to know if you know the answer. Sorry?
I'm sure. I mean, the cost of years.
Yeah. Exactly, right? So I'm sure. And just by saying that, you sound so much better. Like it's such a small thing. And this is one of the most basic ones that we can work on, is instead of saying, I am sure, we say, I'm sure. If you want to emphasize and you then pause dramatically, and if someone says, are you sure? And you want to emphasize that, yeah, actually, I am sure, you break it and you stress on the auxiliary verb. You say, I am sure. So it's a different purpose of breaking it and doing it. But if you're not stressing or emphasizing that I am sure, which we don't always do. If we're having a normal conversation, we're not constantly emphasizing on or trying to convince the other person. So then we just say, I'm sure. And that takes you one step closer to sounding better. So it sounds really basic, but you'd be surprised at how many of the people who want to sound more fluent or more native do not do that. Okay, so same thing is, can someone contract that for me?
I'll eat after class.
I'll eat after class.
Exactly, right? And so you're kind of pronouncing it like this, right? Like your I'll. You're saying it like that. As your pronunciation, of course. You're also kind of doing it like this. This is a homonym, like I'll eat after class. Again, the reason why you would break it and not contract it would be to emphasize or to convince. Are you going to eat after class? Yes, I will eat after class. So that changes sort of the reason why you would not contract. And if then you are contracting, you're just sounding more fluent. Same thing with this. This is a common one that I don't hear a lot of. Every person that speaks a certain first language has their own struggles and challenges when they're speaking English. Just very common sense, right? Because a person speaking French might not have might have different sounds that they cannot pronounce easily. And the same thing when it comes to our people speaking. Our people, as in Desi people, when they speak English, there's some sounds that just don't come very naturally, and W and V are definitely on top of the list of that. So actually the good news is you don't have to say it. So the goal is when you're speaking to sound better, so you actually should not be saying it anyways, right? Yeah, why not? So how would you contract that?
I'd not recommend this book.
Say the whole sentence. I think it was you, Adil.
Sorry, ma'am. Am I audible?
No, I don't know if anyone else can hear you, but I definitely have trouble hearing you.
I
Can
can hear
someone
him.
read this sentence?
I did
I
not
don't
Sadiq, could
recommend
you
recommend
this.
read the sentence for me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear.
Okay. Maybe too loud at times. So could you please read this for me?
I'd not recommend this book.
I'd not recommend this book. You want to stress on this. Okay, you're not going to stress on recommend. You're going to read this again, and you're going to read it like this. You're going to say, "I'd not recommend this book." You're going to pause and stress. This is where your stress breaker point is going to be. You're going to say, "I'd not recommend this book." So, Mohammed, could you read this for me?
I'd
I
not recommend this book.
Very nice. Sadiq?
There are two people with the same name, ma'am.
There's only one Tariq.
Oh, okay, Tariq.
And I see.
Right.
Sorry.
I thought you asked Muhammad. That's why I said.
No, the other Muhammad is, I call him Asif Bhai.
Okay, okay. So I have to.
So could
I
you
do
read this
not
for me?
recommend this book. I'd not
There you go.
recommend.
So you want, very nice. I did not. And you see, so you're avoiding doing the whole W and the V thing that we do when we make that mistake, right? I would not recommend this book, but you shouldn't be focusing on that anyways, because when you're speaking, you should not be using that I would. You'd rather be saying, like I said, you'd rather be saying, I'd not do something. So these are also, when you practice sentences or when you practice pronunciations, you want to say a whole sentence and then practice it, as opposed to practicing a word. Instead of practicing I'd over and over again, it's way better to pronounce a whole sentence to practice. And of course, use it at least 3 times to see the difference. So I'd not recommend this book. I'd not go there if I were you. I'd not say that. So any sentence you make, but you need to practice it 3 times to hear yourself correct it. Okay, a couple more, and then I'm going to go to the next little pointer. So how would you do this one?
They're always on time. I think we should be
Exactly.
stressing on always here.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And this one, in speaking, it's a really good one, right? Because we have 3 words with exactly the same sound, there, and there. And the only problem that we have is when you're writing it, some people can mix up. There are 3 theirs, right? So there, unka, and there, udhar, and then there, wo log. So it's, you know, it's easy to pronounce that. In writing, it could be a difficult thing because some people can get the spelling wrong, but we're not here for spelling. But you're absolutely correct. You're going to say they're always on time. They're never on time. They're sometimes on time. So you just to practice that where the stress goes. And of course, there, instead of saying they are, it's even more difficult to actually say that. If you want to correctly pronounce the 2 words separated, it actually is more difficult to break it and say they are always, because you're actually breaking your flow. But this is actually easier to say they're always on time. Okay,
Yes.
and then I have, sorry?
No, I said, ma'am, we gotta be lazy here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key to speaking better English is to be lazy. That is very different from a lot of languages that don't require that. Urdu is one of them. If you want to sound proficient in Urdu, or French, if you want to sound proficient in French, you're going to not be lazy. You're going to show how proficient you are by adding more words and more sounds. In English, is quite the opposite. If you can say it in less, you say it in less, and that actually shows your proficiency and fluency in English. That's actually a very important thing to remember. And this is the last one I had for you. Okay, so where do we contract over here?
Aish, I'd listen to you.
I'd.
So Adil, could you read the whole sentence for me, please?
Can we contract I wish into Aish?
No. No.
Oh,
So I wish stays I wish, and then continue.
I'd listen to you.
Absolutely. Exactly. So I wish I'd listened to you. And of course, you're kind of pausing and intonating over here and here. You're kind of doing 2 little stresses over here, right? I wish I'd listened to you. And that would kind of be your way of saying it, because we don't add commas when we're speaking. We kind of have to make our dramatic pauses and stresses and that is also a huge thing, because in every language, where you pause and where you stress, it changes. It's very relative to every language that you speak. So to sound more fluent, where you pause and how long you pause for also determines what you're trying to say and how you're trying to say it. So I wish I'd listened to you. And absolutely. So these are very basic sentences, but they're actually something that if you just take it on yourself to practice them regularly, this is a huge thing that makes you sound and be more confident and fluent in speaking. Okay, the next thing that I have is something that I do not hear a lot of second language people saying and using, or a new person speaking, or even somebody who's very articulated in English, they would tend not to say this. And what they would say is, I hope, or I think. What we don't hear is, So this is something that is a very common, I call it a newbie mistake, like a new person trying to, be well versed in English. It's something that so is an adverb, just so you know. It's not something that you need to know, but since I'm here, so is an adverb. And when we comment on this, right? So in what situation would you use this expression? So in what situation would you say, I hope so, I think so? In what situation?
When we are not so sure about something.
Okay, so give me a dialogue, Tariq, in which somebody says something and then you reply with, I hope so. So give me that dialogue. So person A says what? You tell me.
Person A says, I believe the rain gonna stop soon. And then I say, I hope so.
Absolutely. However, if someone says to you, I believe the rain is going to stop soon, it's a great sentence. Of course, you're not going to write it, but this is how it's going to be in spoken. You don't want to say, I believe. If you don't want to comment on, I hope so, when someone says, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Because they're not expressing that they're hoping. They're telling you kind of like a fact. You know what I'm saying? So
Yes,
if you just say this much,
hopefully. I hope can be changed in hopefully. Hopefully the rain gonna stop soon. Then
absolutely, or just nothing, or just say the rain is going to stop soon. Even just that, you don't even have to say I hope or hopefully. You could say I hope, and you could say hopefully, but you could also just avoid that and be even more natural sounding and say, oh, the rain's going to stop soon. You look out the window, you see the clouds, they're clearing up, and you say the rain is going to stop soon, and you're going to say I hope so. Now, people would often also reply with, I hope. That's just wrong. It doesn't make any sense. It's incomplete. I hope it, and it kind of leaves it a lingering concept there, like you hope what, right? So it's very incomplete. So somebody else, either Adil or Mohammed, if you can give me a dialogue in which the response has to be, I think so.
Political crisis is going to be neutralized over next years.
Again, sorry?
Political crisis in our country is going to be stabilized in next few years.
Political crisis in our country
Is going
is
to be
going to be
neutralized, stabilized. So,
and you reply with, I think so.
I think so, yes.
I would say I would prefer to use I hope so over here. I'll tell you why. First of all, political crisis in our country, I would remove this and I would use will be. There's two reasons. One is I'm guessing, oh, this is not how you spell political. Let's fix that. Okay. You, Adil, as a person, don't have much doing in stabilizing the political crisis, right? So you cannot say are going to be. When you say are going to be, this is a very, very good point. And I'm just going to mention it over here. It might actually be helpful for everyone. When we speak in the future tense, we use will and be going to, right? So when we use will, this is our basic future tense. We're talking about the future, right? Be going to is we talk about the future, but before talking, right? Before talking, there is a pre-planned something. For instance, right?
But
If you ask me, what will you do after class? I'm going to say, I am going to prepare food after class. That means that before I even told you this, I already have a pre-planned thing that after this, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. So this is something that I have planned. You don't, unfortunately, you do not have your own plan of stabilizing the political crisis in our country. So for that reason, this is something that also is a common mistake that people make when they're talking about the future. They don't see that hidden difference, right? That fine line difference between will do something and be going to do something. Tariq, sorry, you were saying something and I interrupted you.
yes, I think I've read this before. If we use be going to, that means we are showing some level of certainty on that thing. But
Yeah,
I want to
exactly.
understand. Like, what is the difference between be going to and shall be? If we use shall
Oh,
instead of be going to.
it's first of all, don't use shall. Don't use shall. Shall is very old. It's a very colonial word. No one uses it outside of Pakistan and India. It's no one uses it unless you're in the royal family. Shall is just a very, it's very pretentious in my opinion. This is just my personal opinion. We shall be going to. It doesn't add any element more than pretentiousness. It doesn't add anything more to it. So if I say the same sentence here, I shall be preparing food after class. The royal family. Okay, it's too royal. It's too colonial. I actually definitely am going to put this over here. Teachers in Pakistan and probably India. I don't want to say India because I have never really met an English teacher from India. So I cannot speak on their behalf, but I could have hours of debate on this with Pakistani teachers who teach English, in which they would say, no, shall is not pretentious, is because it's just a colonial word. It's not, they left it there. They don't even use it in England anymore. Yeah, so don't use shall.
They taught
Say
us
again,
that,
Tariq?
yes, they taught us if we are not certain about something, we use will for future. But if we are certain about something in future, we should use shall. This word.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I know. I've heard this and I've heard these theories. Here's the thing. It's not only about certainty. I don't use the word certainty because it's about plan. It really is about plan. So for example, if right now somebody knocks on the door, right? I didn't plan before the person knocked on the door that I'm going to open the door. But as I hear the knock, I say, oh, give me 1 second. I will see who it is. Or my phone rings and I say, give me a second. I will answer my phone. Because I didn't have no one ever has a pre-planned plan that, the phone's going to ring at this time. I'm going to, well, unless you do, then you have it, right? But normally speaking, if you have an unexpected phone call, unexpected knock on the door, you quickly say, I'll be back. I'll be there. I'll be 1 minute. Because as you're speaking, you're making the plan. That it's about when was the plan made? Was the plan made as you were speaking? Or was a plan made, okay, so forget the word plan. Was the action about the future, the decision to do the action in the future, was it made at the moment of speaking? Or was the action of the future made before the moment of speaking? In some cases, who cares, right? In some cases, if I tell you, it doesn't really change your life, right? Because it doesn't really matter if I am talking about after the class preparing food. Now, am I deciding this as I speak right now? Did I decide this 5 minutes before class, 5 days ago? it's really, no one cares, right? No one really cares. And it's not even important. So in some cases, who cares? I can say, I'll prepare food after class. I'm going to prepare food after class. You're not going to care. You're not even going to think about it. But in some cases, it does matter, like talking about a political crisis in your country, right? So, and first of all, if you tell me is going to be stabilized, my first question will be, what plans do you have? You're saying this, so what plans do you have to stabilize a political crisis in your country? Does that make sense?
No,
No.
thanks for clarifying, ma'am. Understood.
I can't hear you. I don't know if it's my system or I don't know. Could you repeat it again, Tariq, please?
No, I said, ma'am, thanks for clarifying. I
Oh,
was
you're welcome. Sorry, I thought you were saying something else. Okay. You're most welcome. You don't have to thank me. But is there any more question? Like, is that clear or have I confused you more on this?
no, ma'am. It is clear.
Adil, you're
Yes.
okay with that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. So if I'm going too fast or just skipping over your actual question, please stop me because I'd rather not confuse you. That's not the point. So this is why you want to focus on using will more unless you want to tell someone that this is a plan. And if someone asks you, do you have a plan? You say, yeah, well, this is what I'm going to be doing. So in some situations at work, in university, at school, anywhere where you need to tell someone your plan, of course, you need to use the right one. But besides that, in your daily life, it doesn't really matter, right? So just for that. Now here, because you're saying political crisis in our country will be stabilized in whatever time, you hope so, right? You hope so, because I think so is something, it's not about hoping, it's more about believing, and it's more about like, yeah, I think this is going to happen. Like, I think so. Let's try another one. Let's try another dialogue in which the response can be, I think so.
Will Sheridan conduct an experiment on nuclear particles?
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you think so. It's something that you think to be a fact, you think to be true, etc. So that's absolutely correct. I don't hear people make a lot of mistake with I think. I have heard it, but I hope is a very common one that I hear a lot of people make a mistake with, in which they will just respond with I hope. It's wrong because I hope so. The actual so in there really adds a difference. Okay, should I go on to the next one? Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Excellent. The next one is, I think this is one that everyone is comfortable with, right? It's I will ask you guys, when do we use the expression, you know, and then I'm putting 3 dots because I'm lingering, right? I'm not stopping my sentence, you know? So it's like more like a question. It's more like I'm leaving it hanging. So yes, Adil?
Maybe when both persons are on same mental level or on same context level.
Exactly.
It
So
might
tell
be,
me a sentence again, Tariq.
yep. It might be a case to wait for the approval of the other person, like if he's getting you or not.
Okay. Okay. So give me, each of you, give me a sentence in which in the middle of your sentence, in the middle of your whatever you're saying, you're going to stop with, you know, like that. So could you can you give me something?
It's a bit hard, but let me think.
Go ahead.
Can I?
Yes,
Please,
yes.
please.
I am doing my research for my final project, you know. My research, I will try to avoid my because it will be redundancy or repetition of the words.
Okay,
Yeah.
exactly. But that's okay. But I want you to not stop there. I want you to, I'm doing my research for my final project. I want you to say a little bit more before you stop it, because if I was not your English teacher, if I was just your friend and you said that to me, I would say, no, I don't know. Like my answer would be, no, I don't know. So tell me a little bit more. Where do you expect me to kind of go, Because when you say you pause because baki to aapko pata hai. So where
Yeah.
are you going to stop baki to mujhe pata hai? Because I'm going to say, I don't know. What are you talking about? Right? So where would you, I think you need a little bit more information there before you stop it,
Yeah. So, ma'am, yeah, it can be in this way, like, not from, okay, I have to. Okay, just give me a second, ma'am. The new students in our school are very intelligent, they're gonna be top the class or something like that.
After you cannot continue. Leaves the conversation lingering. It kind of leaves it in the middle of the air. So I'm going to come to you. Adil, could you finish your sentence? And I'm going to come back to your student one, Tariq.
Okay.
What if we say you and I are doing this? You and I. Should I use R or M?
You tell me.
You and R are doing research for our final project, because here the other person is knowing the context which we are talking about.
Okay. Here's one that I'm going to give you. Tell me what you think about this. Okay. This I can agree with, right? I'm working on my final research project. If you stop here and say, I'll say, no, I don't know. Like, I mean, what am I supposed to know? That it's difficult? You don't have time? Or am I supposed to know what the project is? I don't know what you're talking about. But if you continue on and saying, so time is of essence, So, oh yeah, because now I can say, yeah, final project, your life depends on this. Time is difficult because you have so many things going on. You cannot come to the English workshop. There's too much happening in your life. So I get all that. I can say, because when the person stops at, the listener should automatically be shaking their head and saying, oh yeah, totally, I agree. This is what you should be saying. Does that make sense to you, Adil? Does that sound better to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So can we
Right.
use can we use in the starting of our statement, like in the conversation?
That
Like,
is a very common thing that's a very common thing that people from India, Pakistan do. They start with,
Oh,
no, unless for this purpose, no. For this
okay.
purpose, no. If you begin with, it's like you're referring to something. So I could say, for example, Yasin Bhai, and then I can tell you something about him,
Oh,
right? I can say, Gandhi Saab, and then I can sort of continue something about that, right? Because I'm not really stopping there, and I'm not really, I'm just assuming that the person I'm talking about, about
okay.
him. That's a different kind of, But if you do this, like if you say, I'm working on my final research project, so time is of essence. If you do that reverse, my sarcastic answer would be, no, I don't know. I don't know about your life. I don't know what project you have. So that would be it wouldn't be a very nice way of answering, but that would be something that, that's going on in my head at that time, right? Like,
Got it.
why do you expect me to know what you're doing? And why do you expect me to know that time is of essence to you? It's supposed to be mid thought. It's supposed to be as you speak, and instead of continuing, so what Adil would be removing from here, right, in the brackets, time is of essence, so I need to be more organized and I am losing sleep and it's so difficult. So blah, blah, blah. This is all in his head that I'm telling Adil what's in his head, but this is all in his head and
Yeah.
he is omitting all that information because he expects me to understand all that. So I'm saying, oh yeah, totally, I know. So we're not saying all that, but we both agree on that. And that's kind of like a mutual thing. And so you have to leave it at a point in which, but you don't continue all that, and you just kind of leave it mid-sentence. It's kind of ironic that this is, it makes us sound more fluent if we just leave somebody in the middle of a sentence.
Got it.
Is that clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Excellent. You're welcome. Tariq, I'm going to come back to you. You had a really good sentence that you were doing, and I said I'm going to come back to you.
Was it good? So I'll continue with that. I was saying the students in our class, the students in our class are very intelligent, you know. So what is in my head that we should be ready with you know, for the because I'm talking with my classmate, the word I said our class. So is it correct one?
So I would change it, okay? Because if you say this, the students in our class, I don't imagine that you're speaking to your class. I imagine you're speaking to your principal, or you're speaking to your family. You're speaking to somebody who's not in your class. If you are talking, so this would be speaking to someone not in your class, and then I would end it in this way. I would say the students in our class are very intelligent and hardworking. Since the competition I would stay there. I would stop here. Like there's some competition coming up or some contest coming up, and you say, you know, the students in our class are very intelligent and hardworking. And since the competition is coming up, I think we have a chance, you know. What are you omitting? You're omitting, we have a chance to succeed. We have a chance to give the school a name. We have a chance to whatever you have a chance of doing, right? So what do I know? I know you have a chance. In the above sentence, what do I know? I know that time is of essence for Adil. I know that I understand that time is of essence. Why is time of essence? Because now he needs to organize, he needs to hurry up, no being lazy, he needs to stop sleeping too much, and he needs to focus on the difficult task. That's what I know. So if you tell me that the students in our class are very intelligent, I don't know. I haven't seen their result. I don't know how good they are. I don't know if they're hardworking. I don't know if they have any chance in the competition, but you continue on and then you go, we have a chance, you know, a chance for what? A chance for winning, a chance for representing your school name. It is, you don't have to say a short sentence and say, you know, you're just saying, you know, and avoiding telling everything that is already understood, something that's very obvious. You say, you know, to avoid repeating the obvious. Now, if you're saying the same sentence, right, the same thing to your class, right, like you are the class monitor and you're like the leader and you want to motivate your buddies and saying like, come on guys, we can do this. So you're not going to say the students in our class, you're going to say we. You're just going to say we. Instead of saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words, you'll say one word. We are so amazing. We're so amazing, guys. We will do this, you know. And that, so whatever you're talking about, right? So we will do blah blah blah, you know, as in like, so we all agree it's obvious we can do this, right? So that's how you're going to kind of, you have to replace whatever you're going to say with, you know, and then the other person. So you see where if you stop at the wrong place with, you know, it can be a little bit like, no, I don't know. And you see it a lot. So like people who come from other countries, any other country, and they're in Canada and they will say, well, you know, I'm from Pakistan, so blah, 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 you know, and people actually say, no, we don't know. Like, we don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know how it is over there. So tell us. So it's kind of like, why would you assume somebody knows? So this is, you only say you know when you assume that the other person is going to agree with what you know. How many times do you use the word no?
Else it will be a question mark to your fluency. I mean,
Say it again, Tariq.
I said, ma'am, if we say like, you know, I'm from Pakistan, so if we speak like this, then it will be a question mark to our fluency.
Yeah, exactly. If you say I'm from Pakistan, so unless you say I'm from Pakistan, so it's winter, it's very, very cold, right? And you want to say that it's very cold for you because I'm from Pakistan and it's never this cold over there, you know? So now you know is okay because so now I understand that -40 is very cold for you because you come from a hot country. So I can now I can understand all that. I can put everything into context, but you have to give me some context to know. Like what do I know? You have to give me some context to leave me at. And I say, or my answer will be, no, I don't know. Right? So if there's some context, the context and the hidden obviousness has to be there. Excellent. So the next thing that I also want to show you is kinda, sorta. Super awesome, super fluent, super used. I think this is from the list of things that I've given you is probably my most favorite one, I would say. It's also very little used among, again, Desi people. We tend to say it's so. Okay, I'm sure you've heard this. Maybe you've said it, but I'm sure you've heard this around you. How was the movie? Oh, so. It's really no word in English. It's taught in old books, in old academic books. It's really not taught anymore. No one says it. Okay, so it's really not an expression in English. So. More or less is also not used anymore. Like, these are historic expressions that no one really uses. Okay, so what do we use? We say kinda, sorta. And what is kinda, sorta? Kinda is kind of, and sorta is sort of. I will be sending, inshallah, this document, so you will be getting it. So if you do find it helpful. So when we say something like so, if you want to say so, this is what we have to say. We say kinda, and then we have to say kinda what, right? So also to talk about similarities, right? I could say that the weather in India is kinda like Pakistan. Instead of saying the weather in India is similar to Pakistan, I sound like a robot speaking from the encyclopedia. I'm not going to say this when I'm speaking. Even if I'm speaking in the most professional situation or in a business environment or giving a presentation, I'm not going to say that. It's way too old-fashioned. So I'm going to say, you know, the weather here is kind of the same as this place. Or I'm going to say kind of, sort of, either or, whichever one you prefer using. These are excellent expressions to use and to keep at hand. It's similar to winter here. Well, it's kind of like winter there. It's sort of like winter there. So instead of saying similar, so these are the words that we want to avoid. Okay, so so we want to avoid so, more or less, similar, say kinda, and sorta. It's a very very, it's just better. This is the newer way. It just makes you sound more comfortable. Anyone have a question on those ones?
No, I don't have any question, but sorta is a word I use once in a blue moon.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad. Mohammed, you were going to say something? No, I thought I saw your mic turn off. Okay.
Sorry, there is no there is no difference between kinda or sorta, because when we say
No.
so, it means like bas aise hi hai, so in Urdu.
Yeah, exactly.
So
We don't say that. Aise hi hai, exactly. It's just theek hi hai, right?
theek hi hai, yeah.
But yeah, exactly. Movie kaisi thi, so thi.
So yeah.
We don't say that, right? It was just so
So
well,
kinda
you
or
want to
sorta,
say,
it has the same meaning as like it has the same meaning,
so
or
you're going to yeah, same meaning, different usage. The usage is
different?
going to change. You're going to have to add an adjective, right? You're going to have to add an adjective. So let's say the movie was so-so, right? Let's say that's the situation. The movie was so-so. I'm going to say the movie was meh. I can say this. It's very, very casual, very, very informal. Okay. I can also say it was kind of okay or sort of okay, whichever. I think I use kind of more than sort of, but they're both the same. The movie was kind of okay. The movie was sort of okay. That's what's going to make you sound so much cooler, up to date. It's the more up to date way of speaking, like 70 years to date, like that much up to date. So the movie was kind of okay, it was sort of okay. And then of course, whatever adjective you're using, right? So it's going to be, but just to say the movie was so-so, there's no word just to replace so-so and just put that word, because it's not going to happen unless you're speaking in Urdu and you're saying it in Urdu, like bas thi thi, so thi. That's up to you, right? That's fine. But if you're going to switch it to English, it's not okay. It sounds really wrong. It sounds a century old. It sounds wrong.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Bas
And
theek hi tha
I
is
agree that
also
you probably hear it all the time, right?
Nowadays, I do not hear so. Yeah, but I
It's
hear
less, right?
like kinda, sorta, yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's thanks to social media and thanks to Netflix and YouTube and stuff, right? So we're hearing more native English, then I guess it's getting lesser and lesser. And I guess the next generation is now speaking more than the older generation. So maybe that also makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes, Tan.
Yes, ma'am. No, I was saying that if we are saying theek hi tha is also like kinda okay. Like how can so make
Exactly.
sound like theek hi tha?
I'm not saying it sounds like it because I'm the worst person to actually translate between Urdu and English. I can only try, but it's how we say, right? If you want to say bas tiki tha, so you say bas so tha. Like I've heard it a million times, right? I'm sure you've heard it too. But when we kind of just say bas theek hai, it's kind of okay. That's how we want to say it, right? Or just use a different word entirely. I don't know if we hear it a lot from Pakistan and India or not, but I know that the Latin Americans, they say more or less a lot. Like, how was the movie? It was just more or less okay. And that also doesn't make any sense. It makes sense because I know what you're trying to say, but I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't use it in my vocabulary. Similar is a word that absolutely exists. It's a very common word and very okay to use. But if you can avoid using it and sound more native by not using it, then kind of sort of is the better way of saying it. This also exists. It's very, very informal. It's very, it's meh, but I think that's like an international word. I think in every language you could use that. But besides tikita, if you say, for example, We can also, we're not talking about TK, we're just comparing it, right? It's kind of like the one back home. So if you're having food in a different country and you're saying, wow, this reminds me of something. So a common word over here would be, this would be replacing this, you know? So it would be, a lot of people would say it's similar to the restaurant back home, whereas it'd be cooler to say it's kind of like the one back home. That would be something just to use. I mean, this is something you should use. There is a website, and I'm a little bit hesitant in sharing it, but I do want to share it. A little bit of in a rut when I want to share this. It sometimes has some bad words on it. Okay, so for that reason, but I think everyone's an adult over here, so you know how to navigate through your life. It is called Urban Dictionary. Okay, I'll tell you why I recommend it. It's called Urban Dictionary. It's an app. It's a website. Sometimes because people can go on there and put their it's not inappropriate. Normally it's fine. Normally it's perfectly okay, but sometimes they can go a little bit inappropriate and use some bad words, but I think they're all around us anyways. It's kind of inappropriate for younger children to use, but I suggest you to at least check it out. What it does, it shows you the trending words, the trending and the more the trending words that are used nowadays. For instance, I have a teenage daughter, and so, you know, as you guys all know, the teenagers know everything in life there is to know. So she has just told me that this is a new word, and maybe you guys have heard this and maybe not, but it's the new way of saying awesome, right? So I remember about 30 years ago, awesome was a new word, right? 30 or 40 years ago, awesome was used more than good or great. We say, oh, that's awesome. I think that was more like an 80s thing when it started, when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and all those, when that sort of media came out, awesome became a new thing. Slay is a new thing now, right? And so, I mean, even if you decide not to use it, at least it's good to be aware of what the new trending words are out there, because English evolves all the time, right? I mean, there is no other language in the world that evolves as fast as English does. There's no other language. It is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing. I mean, even if you see the number of words that are added to the Oxford English Dictionary a year, and they're so ridiculous. Like, for example, now we have, I think it was about 10 years ago, but lull is a word now in the English dictionary. So it's, you know, it's actually a word, and you can use it as a verb. Like, you can be lolling, and that's just ridiculous, but it's a word. So, I mean, you know, we don't choose what goes in the dictionary, but it is a word that's used. Same thing as about 40 to 50 years ago, we would use the word gay to mean happy and content, right? That was just the original meaning of gay, and everyone is aware of this. And now we don't say that, right? We don't get up one morning and saying, oh, I hope I have a gay day. 40 years ago, 50 years ago, it would make perfect sense to say that. It wouldn't be anything other than being happy. I hope you have a gay day. It would only mean one thing. I hope you have a great, happy day. I hope you're happy today. It doesn't work like that anymore. So language changes and words change. So I find Urban Dictionary is kind of cool like that. And I would recommend that you at least check it out. If you find something inappropriate, forget that I recommended it to you. Adil?
Maybe it is blocked in Pakistan. I am unable to access it.
No way, seriously? Okay.
Yes, I am
That
refreshing
bad.
it
I don't know why.
but unable to do that.
Yes,
Now you
yes,
wonder
indeed.
what's on there. No way, seriously?
Yes, I have
So
tried
this is why I would be
different
saying
browsers, but
so.
unable to do it.
I'm sorry?
I also have tried it on different browsers to access the site, but
Okay.
unable to do this.
Oh my God. Well, we're just gonna live in colonial world, I swear to God. I don't know why. It's not
Where are you
that
in
inappropriate.
Adil? Where are you in Pakistan?
Islamabad.
And how about Tariq?
I'm in New Delhi. Your
Okay.
neighbor.
Can you also access it or not?
I can.
You
We
can.
don't have access with Chinese apps, but we
Okay.
have.
How about the Muhammad?
Yeah, I can access it
And where are you?
from Canada.
Oh. Of course.
Mohammed, where are you in Canada?
Calgary.
You're in, I'm from
Oh.
Calgary. That's my home. I
Oh,
was raised there. I grew up in Calgary in the Northwest.
Northwest. Okay. I'm in Northeast.
I don't live there now. I'm in Quebec now.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's amazing. Where do you live, Mohammed?
In Northeast.
Nice. Excellent.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice. My whole my entire khandan is there. My entire family is there.
Oh, okay. Oh, where? Northwest still?
Everyone's in Northwest. Yeah, everyone's in the Northwest. Bearspaw, and Scenic Acres. That's where they live. Yeah,
Scenic
that's so
Acre, okay.
awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
If I'm ever there, we have to meet, inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Inshallah. Absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for your for coming, for participating. I think this was the most participating workshop we had today. Thank you, especially to Tariq and Adil and Muhammad. Like, thank you so much for participating, and thank you for making this so eventful. I hope to see you guys again, and I really recommend that if you have any suggestions of what you want to see more of, or etc., do send a message on the group in WhatsApp, because don't feel like you shouldn't. Please don't hesitate. Ask for something like, like, can we have a workshop on this or not? Because that would be a better workshop than for me to just make one. We're not going to have any workshops in Ramadan. So we will be having a few. I'll try to do as many as we can up until Ramadan. At least we have 2 more, at least, but I'll try to do at least maybe even 2 more than that. So we'll try to do 4 before Ramadan begins. And then we'll take a little break in Ramadan from the workshops. We'll still have the WhatsApp group running, inshallah. But if you don't have any more questions, then I wish you all a lovely week and weekend.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Walaikum assalam. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you so much.